Welcome to Playing the Big, Beautiful Long Game, where entrepreneurship meets spirituality. In this podcast, we explore the intersection of personal fulfillment, spiritual growth, and business success. This podcast delves into the idea that entrepreneurship is not just about profits or growing businesses. It's also about embracing purpose, meaning, and inner growth. Each episode features conversations with entrepreneurs and thought leaders who share their journeys of building businesses that align with their highest values and deepest calling. I'm your host, Debbie Zita. Sit back, relax, and thank you for being here. Welcome, beautiful Tash. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful to spend this time with you. We are going to do a little grounding technique together before we officially introduce you. So feeling your feet on the ground, and let's go ahead and take a gentle deep breath, breathing in through the nose and feeling the stomach expand as you do so. And you can have your eyes open or closed, and that's for Tash and also for the listeners and watchers as well. And again, gentle deep breath, breathing in through the nose and feeling the stomach expand as you do so. Slight pause as you exhale out through the mouth, just letting everything go. And one last time, gentle deep breath, breathing in through the nose and feeling the stomach expand as you do so. Slight pause as you exhale out through the mouth, just letting everything go. And from here, gently touching the heart center right at the center of the chest. And we can do one hand or two hands as we smile sweetly, freely, more completely and more continuously to our beautiful hearts until there is only peace, love, and joy. And sending this gentle wave of energy out to everyone in our communities, everyone watching and listening, and finally to every being everywhere in all of existence, so that every being can feel peace, every being can feel love, and every being can feel joy. And dropping the body weight to the chair and the floor beneath us as we gently wriggle our fingers and wriggle our toes, opening our beautiful eyes, and just take a moment to calibrate into this beautiful heart frequency. And there she is, beautiful Tash. Again, I'm so grateful to have this time with you. Can you please share with us, although I'm going to assume but shouldn't assume that a few of our members will know who you are, but for those who don't, can you share with us who you are and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you so much for that gorgeous meditation. It certainly put me in a wonderful frame of mind to be open and share with you and your wonderful listeners, Deb. I am Natasha Weber. I am often referred to as AstroTash. That is my little cosmic alias. And I've been an astrologer for about 25 years. So I currently am the resident astrologer for the morning show and the horoscope columnist for Marie Claire magazine. And I share a lot of my insights on Instagram. I've written a book which was published by Penguin, and it's called Your Celestial Compass, Astrology for Self-Discovery and Empowerment. So very proud of that. That was a 7-year project in the making. Yeah.
So beautiful. And I can recall meeting you in Queensland at Gwingana, where magic often happens, and I have beautiful stories and connections. And I think, from, if memory serves me correctly, that your book was just about to come out as I was meeting you.
Yes, that's right. Well, it's been out for about a year now. I just celebrated the first year anniversary of the book.
Congratulations.
I do remember meeting you there, Deb, and what a magical place Gwingana is. Take me back.
Yes, I know, every day, right? It's just the
Yeah.
energy there, the food's amazing.
Oh, it's
The people, yeah, it is heaven. It is just divine. And obviously I had no idea what you did for work, and you didn't know what I did. And we had a beautiful cohort. There were so many amazing heart-centered high achievers in that space.
Mm.
But of course, we didn't know each other in that way. We just knew each other as heart to heart and human to human, and then eventually have these beautiful conversations and found out about synchronicities and the connections and found out about you, and we stayed in touch, and then here we are. So I would love if you can walk us through astrology and, how did you get into it? How did you get started? What inspired you?
Oh, okay. So astrology was not my first career. I reached a crossroad after I had my daughter, actually, and I knew I wanted to start on a new path. And so I just went into this very intense space where I was praying to the universe to guide me to what I was meant to be doing. And my one prerequisite for this was that I felt passionately about it. So I was actually tossing between naturopathy and psychology and astrology, of course. And then I happened to end up at Channel 10, it was. I was working on my job I had previously, and I ended up bumping into the gorgeous Karen Morgold, who is an astrologer. She's a TV astrologer, and she has a 40-year career in television. And so, because I was praying to the universe for a sign and to set me on my path and to help me decide which one of these three topics, I felt most passionately about and was right for me, I saw this as my sign. And so I contacted Karen and we had a chat, and she ended up pointing me in the direction of the Australian Academy of Astrology and Cosmobiology, which was my school. So I started there, and I started with a course, a professional course. And then after that course ended after 3 years, I was invited to join their senior research group.
Wow.
That was a huge privilege. And there I presented, this is not media astrology though, this is pure academic astrology. So my second year of study was a 4-hour math exam. And I did this for 15 years before I even started my little Instagram page, AstroTash. And I only chose that name because Natasha Weber was taken. I thought, oh, that's a bit of a naff name, but anyway, it stuck. And I just remember getting 4 followers out of nowhere and thinking and feeling really seen and really, oh my goodness, people are seeing my interpretations. They're seeing into me, because sharing even your horoscope predictions, astrology interpretations, it comes from such a deep and personal place. So that was an interesting lesson, to be vulnerable, to be open, and to be comfortable sharing my insights, come what may. And yeah, that was a long time ago now. So it just blossomed from there, really.
It's so beautiful. And it's funny because I never thought of astrology, this is my own projection, but as something academic. I think I had in my mind the Marie Claire or the Girlfriend magazine, as I was growing up,
Mhm.
I would flick through and read astrology. And although I'm very interested in this aspect because I am highly intuitive and my background is psychology and human behavior and how things link together and numerology and everything else, but I never thought of it as something academic until actually right now. Maybe can you let us know maybe like the fundamentals of astrology and how it sort of works, if that's the correct way of asking that question?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I actually love astrology, because it is that beautiful, complex combination between math and mystic,
Great.
between science and spirit.
Yes.
And that is simply because it resonates with me. I have a Mercury in Taurus, which is extremely practical, but I also have a strong Neptunian theme in my birth chart, which makes me very spiritual and in tune with, what lies beyond the veil. So that combination really appealed to me personally. And I guess the fundamentals of astrology are actually based in math. So everything is very precise. When we talk about the planetary movements, we're talking about movements that can be calculated according to degrees, minutes, and seconds through the constellations. That's what really makes astrology different from astronomy, is that it works with the zodiac and with the constellations, which astronomy doesn't recognize. But astrology is still looking at these scientific planetary orbits, if you like, and the cycles. The cycles are extremely important because they represent the patterns and the experiences that we go through in life. So, on a more esoteric level, astrology, with this basis in the math and the basis in these planetary cycles and patterns, can help us to navigate our own life and our own experiences. And the planetary cycles really reflect those experiences. And they're often repeating, and we can learn these lessons and gain wisdom through looking back at our cycles.
Incredible. I'm having a flashback to a reading I had, and this lady incorporated astrology and numerology.
Mm-hmm.
She did not know anything about me, and she read my chart and she put her hand over her heart and she said, of the year 2022, which it still was in, but it was coming towards the end of that year. She said, "Oh my goodness, Deb, I'm so deeply sorry for this year." And I burst out crying. Again, she had no idea. And I said, "I'm not sure, where that's coming from, but I'm receiving that because I've had rough years before, but this was something else."
Right.
And she said, "Well, rest assured, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, I was in a 5 year." And she said, five, I think, is about change. And she said there was nothing that you could have done or said or thought differently. Something was going to transform this year for you in a way that was quite harsh.
Mm.
And also rest assured that it doesn't come into your chart ever again. So
Oh,
not to say you won't have, I won't have challenges, but whatever that year was unearthing something quite big. And yeah, so it's amazing to me because I was thinking, how can it be so clear that she could read the numerology and the astrology and know that that year for me was just an oh my goodness. But
yeah.
yeah, she could.
Well, I'm not a numerologist, but I love numerology. If I could study another topic, it would be numerology, actually. But
Yes.
so, as an astrologer, I can only estimate as to what she was seeing in your chart. In fact, I probably should have gotten your birth details and calculated your chart for you, and we could have had a chat about that. But I suspect, based on what she said, that you may have had a heavy planetary transit in that year. And that basically means that a planet like Saturn, or even an outer planet like Pluto, which is associated often with pain and transformation while you're going through that Plutonian experience or that Plutonian influence. And that means that Pluto or Saturn, or the planet that she was referring to, would be triggering your birth chart. So that means that that planet in the sky in current time is actually activating a point in your birth chart. And a birth chart is basically like a snapshot of the heavens at your exact moment of birth. So that is always set in stone. And that will show the planetary placements and also the houses and other certain points. And they are vulnerable to the current sky transits when they are triggered, when they come to the same exact zodiacal position. And that's when we really feel those planetary influences. And that's how an astrologer does their forecasting.
Amazing.
Mm.
In terms of astrology forecasting, how does that work and in what ways can we use something like that?
Well, I would firstly suggest to have your birth chart calculated because, for example, not every heavy or light or every astrological event or happening is going to affect you personally.
Mm-hmm.
It will depend, as I mentioned before, how it activates your chart. So, firstly, get your birth chart calculated. If you have a moon in Leo, for example, when the eclipses come around in Leo, as they will be happening next year, they will start in Leo and Aquarius next year. That means that is going to be a period of intense change, and your destiny is beginning to really unfold with those particular eclipses. If you are a Sagittarius, or if you have Mercury in Sagittarius, for example, when Mercury goes retrograde through Sagittarius, you're going to feel incredibly introspective, and all of those things that Mercury retrograde represents is going to impact you more personally than another sign or someone who doesn't have Sagittarius in their chart or in a planet in Sagittarius.
Well, interesting that you say Saggy because I actually am a Saggy.
Oh, there you
So
go.
perhaps that was your intuition picking up on something. But yeah, December 16th. So
Oh, you've got your solar return coming up. So that's a very special time as well.
oh,
So that basically means, I was talking before about the degrees. So your sun might be in 15 degrees of Sagittarius, let's say. That's kind of towards the middle. I'd say it's probably closer to maybe 20 degrees of Sag, given that you're on the tail end of Sagittarius season. But you'd have to have your birth chart calculated to see exactly what degree it was in. So that means that the sun is about to make its return to that exact point
wow.
at 20 degrees, let's say, of Sagittarius. And when that happens, that really starts your personal new year. And what I mean by that is you can calculate a chart for your brand new solar new year, which gives you the themes and the trends of the year ahead. So
Amazing.
a lot of astrologers will look at this to forecast what the year ahead will look for you, will look like for you, sorry. But interestingly, just prior to your actual birthday, so about 2 weeks before your birthday, this is a time when we're often really vulnerable and when we need to reflect and look back on the themes and the lessons that have come up in that past year. And it can be a very powerful time to manifest, actually. So by that, I mean vision boarding, journaling, even just reflecting and getting clear on which one of those lessons you want to bring in to your personal new year so you can manifest what you wish in the year coming up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Going back to the numerology topic, I've
Yeah.
always believed or thought that there was quite a strong link with astrology and numerology. So can they work together, and if so, how do they work together? I think you answered a little bit before, but
Yeah, I mean, there is no link really between
okay,
numerology and astrology is a standalone observational science, really.
okay,
Just like having talents for clairvoyance. I guess the difference maybe between mediumship and clairvoyance and astrology and numerology is that numerology essentially works with a certain structure, and with numbers. It is something that can be learned, whereas clairvoyance and mediumship is, working with a natural gift
yes.
that one might have. But yes, there is no connection actually between numerology and astrology.
Wow,
But
okay,
but that said, just like clairvoyance or mediumship or tarot, these modalities do work beautifully together.
right.
And this is where you see a lot of light workers in this space using these different modalities just to add additional perspectives to their readings and their offerings.
Makes sense. And I think that the reason where I'm going with this is because firstly, I don't have that much knowledge around astrology. This is quite new for me, even though I love all of this. I probably have a little bit more knowledge around numerology. And I know from that angle that we're in a 9 cycle this year. We're in an ending, and that next year is starting in a number one. So I don't know if there's anything from your knowledge with relation to astrology, how next year comes into play with that number one sort of year starting
Oh, okay,
fresh.
that's interesting. From an astrological perspective, I believe we're embodying and experiencing that number one energy this year in 2025. And the reason why I say that, and as I said before, I'm not a numerologist,
Yes.
but just with the astrological energy being very much geared towards a lot of Aries energy, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So Aries also at 0 degrees Aries, this begins the astrological new year in March for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. And so, yeah, that's how I would answer that. I I can see how the number one, if this represents new beginnings and fresh starts and the beginning of a brand new cycle, this is definitely an energy that we are experiencing at the moment.
Amazing.
Mm.
My other question for you is, what do you love about what you do, and what's a typical day like for you?
Oh, okay. Well, I do love what I do. I mean, I was just actually giving an impromptu reading to my local barista this morning.
As you do. I can relate to that. Yes.
That's right. And I found myself kind of passionately rambling. And I was actually, he was a Sagittarius, funnily enough. And I was explaining to him the same idea about manifesting in your upcoming new solar year.
Yes.
I turned to my friend who was with me and I said, I never get tired of this. I absolutely love what I do. And I tend to sum people up when I meet them according to what I think their birth chart might contain. And this lovely barista was telling me some things about himself, particularly that he loves to write a lot and he loves to journal. And I said, you must have a strong Gemini component in your chart, probably a Gemini moon or a Mercury in Gemini.
Yeah.
And then he did say that his partner was a Gemini. So that again reconfirmed that my suspicions, because I suspect that he may have a moon in Gemini, which means that his partner's sun in Gemini would be so compatible with his Gemini moon. And this is where the connection is, because in romantic relationships, especially, but all types of connections, we need to look beyond our sun sign to understand our compatibility. So if you are romantically involved with someone, you are going to want your moon signs to be compatible more so than your sun signs, because the moon represents our emotional landscape. So that's much more important in a romantic relationship than just your basic character, which is represented by your sun sign. And then, of course, we've got our Venus signs, which reveals our love language, and our Mars signs, which shows our sexual compatibility. So you want all of those components to be matching up and syncing up, or at least sort of bringing in an important lesson, which we often see in charts of relationships.
And is romance one of those hot topics that you often get asked about?
Oh, I think this is just what human beings want to know about, because I think fundamentally we're here to connect.
Yeah.
And I believe that we learn our greatest lessons through our relationships, through interacting with other people. I think other people hold up a mirror to who we are. And if we're brave enough to look into that mirror, there's profound personal growth and transformation waiting for us. And this again, I can bring this back to the birth chart as well, because our ascendant sign represents our personality, whereas the sun is a slightly deeper layer. It's more of our basic character. But the ascendant is the starting point of our whole chart, because it marks the first house. And then from there, we see the second, third, fourth house, and all of the 12 houses. But the first house is that starting point. So it's highly sensitive, highly personalized. And when that's triggered by a planet, we have profound experiences. So directly opposite that, in a mirror placement almost to the degree, is the descendant. This is the cusp of the seventh house. This represents our partner in life. This can be a spouse. It could be just our number one person. For some people, that's a child. For other people, that is a parent. For other people, that's a platonic relationship. But my point is that the descendant here is mirrored by the ascendant, which is that highly personalized point in the chart. So again, it shows the mirror between the self and the partner.
How beautiful. How beautiful. I can relate, because connection for me is one of my highest values. And
Yes.
part of the community that I've built and part of how we build businesses is coming to a place of understanding ourselves, and then being able to, and I see it as a way of raising vibration on the planet. When you love yourself, when you understand yourself, everyone is a direct mirror to us. So when we see beauty and strength and wisdom and courage, that's parts of us. And also, and you'll probably agree, if we're seeing anything that is, greedy or lustful, or there's parts of us that feel jealous or envious, that's also within us as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's such a beautiful Sagittarian philosophy, actually, like looking at the greater good. And
Yeah, I was born with it and I tried to hide it most of my life, but yeah, coming into my 45th year in well, it's the 26th of November today. So we're yeah, just 3 weeks away is my birthday. So interesting time for us to be meeting.
it is, it is. You're
Yeah.
going to be doing a lot of reflecting in the next couple of weeks. And
Yes.
my advice would just be to really to work with that, to really clarify what you want to bring into your new astrological year.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a beautiful timing.
Yeah.
I would love to find out from you, Tash, what does spirituality mean to you?
Oh, spirituality mean to me? I would say it means love. You know, we're talking about connection before. And I think ultimately, when you strip away the religion and you strip away all of the modalities, even,
Yeah.
fundamentally for me, the basis is in love. And that also connects back to what I was saying in that our greatest lessons can be learned through our relationships with other people. So I think if we can approach that through love and we can evolve and we can be enlightened through those relationships and approach those relationships with an unjudgmental, from an unjudgmental, loving place, then that's where we really ascend to our highest potential. So, and that to me is spirituality.
Beautiful answer. And if ever I get asked, although I don't often get asked these days, but if ever I do get asked what is my religion, I
Mhm.
actually say it's love.
Oh, there you go.
We're
Beautiful.
so on the same page, very much in
Yeah, that's exactly right. I just got
yeah.
the tingles.
Yeah. I would love to also ask you, how do you think that we can integrate spirituality into entrepreneurship?
Oh, look, I'm just learning how to be a very reluctant entrepreneur because I've spent my entire career just putting my ideas out there. And to be honest, fate, God, the universe
Yes.
has presented me with opportunities to share my insights. And I've just shown up and said yes. So I'm now at another crossroad, I suppose, where I am wanting to actually step into more of a business frame of mind.
Mm.
That is just right for me at the moment. So, how does the spirituality work with entrepreneurship? I'm still figuring that one out, to be completely honest with you. I'm not a great business person. I'm a creative. And I think a lot of spiritual people, a lot of light workers really struggle with the business aspect.
Mhm.
So maybe you can enlighten me about that. Look, that said, I can say to you, if I pull myself out of the equation,
Yeah.
you can certainly use astrology
Mm.
to augment your business. And that can be done through specific charts. So you can calculate a chart of your business, which I just recently did for my own business. And
Right.
you find an entire blueprint
Yes.
for your business. You need just like a human being would be calculating their own birth chart, you need a time of birth for your business. And I would suggest that that time would be the launch of a website, and you can actually find out what that is, like down to the minute when your website went live. So you use that data to calculate a chart for your business, and then you would look at it. It'd probably be helpful to get an astrology reading around that with someone who was specifically qualified to do so.
Yes.
But yes, you can see the patterns. You can even find out the particular colors, the color palette that might suit your business, that people would resonate with the message you want your business to portray. I learned a lot actually about AstroTash as an entrepreneur, as opposed to AstroTash the astrologer when I started looking at my business chart. So yeah,
Amazing. I,
yeah.
yes, I would love to chat. I do see myself as a leader in that space of marrying spirituality and
Mm.
business, because to me, business is an expression of my soul and my heart. And so I work with people who are here to uplift the planet and to work from a frequency of love, and also to find ways to have purpose and profit, because as much as we love 5D reality, we
Yeah.
also need to eat, pay our bills, and to have influence and impact. And that requires the energy of money. And that requires us to be a leader, to communicate, to express our offerings, to receive the money, and to keep expanding each year. So, yeah, I love it.
And isn't it just so interesting that, I mean, I'm going to just broadly say people, but
Yeah.
some people do expect light workers to work for free. It's
I was one of them. I did
extreme.
benevolent work. I'm also a social worker. I did that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I came to a place where I realized that doesn't work for my soul contract. So I
Yeah.
think it comes back to, and whether that's through a reading with an intuitive or a healer or a birth chart, through astrology or numerology, but finding a way to connect with your own soul. And I came to a place in my 40s, which a lot of us do in our 40s, where
Yes.
I realized I'm a sovereign being and I'm also part of the larger, one connection of one love and one consciousness. And this sovereign being is calling in a certain type of business and lifestyle so I can expand and reach more people.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just a matter of perspective, shifting your perspective. Perhaps you had some childhood belief that was instilled in you to teach you that, money is the root of all evil. And you have to really train yourself to see that differently. And I love the way that you put that because that resonates with me also. And I now see money as currency, allowing me to have the freedom, firstly, to spend more time with my family,
Yes.
the fundamental values, but then also in a business sense to reach more people, exactly what you just said, Deb, so that I can help more people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did the ping pong a bit because I was raised in a family, very loving family, but quite sort of 3D. So there was no sense of spirituality. And then I went the other extreme and was involved in a very deep community around meditation and charity work and giving away belongings. And then now I've come to a place of finding my own sort of middle ground. So I think my programming was, yes, when I was younger, we know 0 to 7 is the formative years where our programming is usually set. But also for me, it was my 30s. So then in my 40s, I had to redo that programming again to once again realign with my own soul mission and what I'm here to do. So,
and I love it. I love this because this correlates with the planetary cycles that I was mentioning.
right.
So when you said that, you had this moment in your 40s where everything changed, that is most likely due to your Uranus opposition. So around our early 40s, the planet Uranus uh, orbits to be exactly opposite where it was when we were born because it takes about 84 years to make one complete orbit of the sun. So it'll take around 40 something years to reach that halfway point in our charts. And this is a pivotal moment in our lives where we often rebel and we often rebel against what's been set up in our childhood.
Mhm.
All of those dogmas and those restrictions and rules, we actually become more independent thinkers at this age, depending on what else is going on in our chart as well. But it doesn't just happen in our early 40s, it happens in 7-year increments where it builds to that point. So Saturn also works in 7-year increments, and this is where the personal development comes into play.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely am very familiar with those 7 year cycles. So that
Yeah,
makes so much sense to me.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful, Tash. Can you let us know? Oh, actually, I have more questions. I'm thinking, oh, there's so many questions I want to ask you. I want to spend so much time with you. Okay, Mercury in retrograde, because you and I were talking about that before we hit yes to record. And I know that I get quite discombobulated and something feels off and things can feel strange in communication. But you were saying that it actually isn't all negative. There are some positives about Mercury in retrograde as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's such a can of worms, though, because it's earned itself a pretty ominous reputation. So, firstly, I want to say that when any planet goes retrograde, which is actually an optical illusion because it doesn't physically travel backwards, but it does according to our vantage point here on Earth.
Hmm.
So it's an energetic influence. So whatever that planet represents in astrology, in Mercury's case, that is communication, technology, travel, negotiations, these don't flow beautifully forward. they can get a bit stuck, a bit tricky, frustrating. You might have to go back over things because it's literally going backwards energetically.
Wow.
So I do, being a Gemini, Mercury rules Gemini, I do always find my tech gives me massive headaches.
Okay.
So I would generally say it's not the time to move forward with any new projects that have to do with contracts, document signing, communications, travel, technology, etc. Even that can even include buying new technology or household appliances, because Mercury also rules moving parts.
Oh,
So
wow.
your household appliances, cover that off as well. So they are kind of the negatives, but it's not really the end of the world. It's not really the end of the world if you're having technology issues.
Right.
Sure, it can absolutely be frustrating. And I did lose half my book temporarily during a Mercury retrograde,
Okay. Wow.
but I recovered it. Now, if we know, just like any astrology, if we know how to work with
Yes.
the energies in a positive way, which you can certainly do during a Mercury retrograde, this is what it's all about, because astrology is a tool. It's not a fortune telling device. Nothing is set in stone. That said, we do definitely have an energetic climate that
Mhm.
we are working with, a framework, if you like, that we have to work with. But we do have free reign over our choices within that framework.
Okay.
So, if we know how to work with Mercury's retrograde, it can be used very positively if we are not pushing forward, but we are going back over things. So a really simple rule
Okay.
can be do things starting with the word re. So review, reassess, redo. Get
Got it. Makes
it?
sense.
So super, super easy. It's a beautiful time for decluttering. So if we go back, if we go within, because when you think about it, that energy is internalizing.
Okay.
It's going within. Backwards, is a matter of perspective. So we
Yes.
can see it a little bit differently. And people who are born with Mercury in retrograde in their charts, they are very deep thinkers. They do tend to internalize things. And this can cause them to have some problems with communication, especially initially. They might just be really shy in childhood.
Right.
But every challenge in our birth chart is there to help us conquer it and
Hmm.
become stronger for it. So, that said, when Mercury is retrograding in the current skies, it can help us come up with some incredible insights if we go within and we take the time to be still. It can be a fantastic time to achieve a deeper meditation practice,
Mm.
for example, for even reviewing a marketing strategy,
Mm.
taking another look at a relationship, reviewing and reassessing, is this relationship still meeting my needs? Now, I wouldn't go ahead and deliver an ultimatum or make any demands during a Mercury retrograde, but in that time, you can come up with some really profound insights.
Mm.
So that's, one way of using Mercury's retrograde in a more positive way.
I love that. And I love what you shared about also even, our charts. There might be challenges and things for us to learn, but it's not there to, I think I'm, changing the word slightly, but it's not there to break us. It's there to help us to become stronger.
Absolutely. I believe that our soul chooses the astrology that we incarnate into this life with.
I've got some coffee catch-ups to do with my soul when I'm back in the planning dimension because we chose a doozy this time around, but that's okay. I'll be honest, I think we all did. I think the planet at the moment is an interesting place for us to be living on. So
Mm.
any of us that has put our hand up to be living on the planet right now is in for some interesting times. And look, maybe we could have said that at any time in history as well. It's all relative. But we
Yeah,
are in unprecedented times with technology and so many changes. I think it's the pace with which we're changing. That's what's so different right now. And it's interesting because my soul, I'm obviously very intuitive. And so since I was little, I always had this feeling from age 3. So age 3 was my first awakening, my first conversation with God, universe, source,
yeah.
was age 3. And then now finally in my 40s, it's like the stages that I was seeing delivering talks on and helping people and communities and business, all these things that in my 20s was totally not what I was doing, but
Yeah.
now it makes sense.
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree with all of that. We are living in very interesting times. And I think when we look at the planetary cycles with Pluto entering Aquarius for the first time since the late 1700s,
Wow. Okay.
this now is the influence is exponential. So it's just rapidly increasing every year. Initially, it did dip in and out for a couple of years, and that was due to its retrogrades. And I believe that the universe does that to prepare us. It gives us a little preview of what we might expect rather than throwing us into the deep end straight away. But now this has been the first year that Pluto has spent a full year in Aquarius since the late 1700s, and now it will remain in Aquarius until 2044. So this is very much what we're seeing with AI, both the light and the shadow side, of course. And, Pluto is the planet of the underground, the underworld, pain and power. So if we can harness this, we can do incredible things. But of course, it does highlight the shadow side of human beings as well. And we're seeing this, with the deep fakes and all of the disastrous things that AI could potentially do to our world. So we do need to be really mindful. And I think astrology is a beautiful tool to help us to help illuminate both the light expression and the shadow expression, if you will, of this particular transit.
So interesting. I'm so curious to ask you, and we don't have to spend too much time here, but was the pandemic somewhere in the astrological chart?
Yes, absolutely. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
a lot of astrologers were predicting some type of pandemic health crisis, and that it's for a few reasons, but one of them is that Pluto and Saturn were making a particular alignment in the sky, and that's quite rare when two outer planets make a connection. By saying a connection, I mean a mathematical alignment or connection in the sky. So again, it comes down to the math. But the last time that Pluto and Saturn did that was when we had the Spanish flu.
Right. Makes
So,
sense.
and this is where, astrologers will study the patterns and the cycles and forecast based on historical events. So we can see the same type of energetic influences occurring.
It's so interesting. And as an intuitive, my whole life was in quite deep upheaval from 2012 till 2018 because I was being reset to tune into my spiritual self and access my spiritual gifts and understand meditation and specifically the heart. And as soon as the pandemic hit, I'd been through what I call my dark decade of the soul, and I was in a place of deep service, which I've always been, but with great gusto. So I came into running my meditations online, and that's how my business got started. So I've been running that session every single week for over 5 years now. Small groups, but it's reached women from 7 countries. And it was part of my soul's mission to be able to have that clearing out and that adjustment period just before the pandemic. And I know a lot of light workers were on a similar page to me as well.
Yes, I think a lot of light workers are pretty familiar with Pluto. It's not a comfortable planet to sit with, but if we can do that, if we can sit with our pain, if we can go in deep, and certainly need to do that if you're studying any of the modalities we've been mentioning, then you can draw from that and utilize that as a gift or a service, as you mentioned, for others. I mean, I think you do that. It requires that deep introspective inner work before you can really share that with other people, doesn't it?
Absolutely, because it's a very sacred space and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah,
And so we have to go through the initiations as I now see them.
absolutely. So we can share the wisdom.
Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful sharings. So we've got two questions for you. The first one is, what self is your favorite and why?
Yes. Oh, I love this. So it was interesting when I looked at them, and the sexual self jumped out, and I first had a little chuckle to myself, but then when reading it more deeply, I realized this absolutely does resonate with me. I believe that we are an integration of masculine and feminine energies, regardless of our gender. And I talk about this in my book actually, because I often refer to masculine energies when I talk about the planets, or feminine energies when I talk about the planets. So, for example, the sun is a masculine energy. And the moon is a feminine energy. It represents the divine feminine. And really, we need to find a balance, an integration of both of these energies in order to live a happy, successful, fulfilled life, I believe. Because if we're embodying that masculine energy and that is out of whack, then we can tend to be overly aggressive. We can tend to be too pushy and not sensitive and receptive to other people. But if we embody too much of that feminine energy, we can then sit back and be too passive and too submissive and allow other people to walk all over us. So we can see this in the chart. We can see the energies in a chart based on what the planets are doing and how strongly they're placed. Or if the moon is afflicted, for example, then that might be an area that we need to work on. Mars is a perfect example. It's like the quintessential planetary representative, if you like, of masculine energy. And it was so interesting because after resonating with those words of sexual self, I looked across at the symbol, the
Yes.
icon that you had,
Yes.
aligned with this, and you've actually used the symbols of the planet Venus and the planet Mars and integrated them.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, so and that book by Dr. John Gray,
Yes.
Men Are from Mars, Women Are
Yes.
from Venus, again,
Yes.
sort of representing
Yes.
this type of thinking. So if Mars is not strongly placed in the chart, for example, if it's in Cancer, which is in my case, I have Mars in Cancer, I really have to work hard on being assertive. It's my default to slip back into conflict avoidance. So this is where you can look at someone's chart and say, okay, this is an area you need to strengthen, you need to work on. And also, my logo is the sun and the moon integrated,
Oh,
which represents that balance of divine feminine and masculine energies. So,
so no wonder that self connected so deeply with you. Makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
gorgeous. Tash, do you offer readings? Is that something that you do?
I used to, and I'm certainly trained
Yes.
in that area. At the moment, I have taken those off the table simply because I've just been really busy with my media work, and writing my book just took me into the zone. I was
Yes.
literally not doing much of anything else. So at the moment, no, but I am working on a really special offering that I'm so excited about.
Yeah.
That will be launching next year. It will be
Amazing.
an exclusive membership, and in within that membership, I will be accessible personally to
Beautiful.
answer personal questions. So there'll be some other offerings in there as well.
Okay.
Yes,
We'll make sure that we've got show notes so we can stay plugged into you through
yeah,
Instagram or whatever the links are so people can find you that way as well.
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, our lucky last question is what advice do you have for others who are creating a business that serves both the world and their heart?
I would really just be practical about this and bring my own experience into it and say self-care is numero uno. Because it is so easy to slip into self-sacrifice when you are serving other people. And that is actually obviously counterproductive. So take the breaks, do the stretches, get the sleep, get a cup of herbal tea. Try not to lean into crutches such as alcohol, caffeine, too much of it.
Mm.
Mine is chocolate. Yeah, and just remember that when you are nurturing yourself and your own energies, then you just simply have more to give, and you'll be around for a lot longer.
Absolutely. What a beautiful sharing. Tash, is there anything else on your heart that you would like to share with our audience before we finish up?
Oh, I would just encourage people to calculate their birth charts. And can I just say, actually, that I offer this for free on my website. So people can go to astrotash.com and they can get a free birth chart. And this is just brand new, and I've worked on this for 3 years because I really want people to understand that they are so much more than their sun sign. And that way they can understand astrology a lot better and get a lot more from astrology to support them and help them navigate their life.
Amazing. That I'm going there straight away as soon as I click off this.
Please do. And you can also download the chart and print it out and frame it. It'd be a beautiful gift. Give someone the gift of astrological awareness and knowledge. And as I said, all free, because that is really my gift to humanity, to crack open that awareness about astrology.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and your heart. We appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, darling. Thank you so much.
The information provided on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical, health, or financial advice. Always consult with a qualified health professional or financial advisor before making any decisions related to your personal health or finances.